Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me today is Delores Oates. As people know, Delores is on our Board of Supervisors here in Warren County. And one of your fine things, a staunch Republican woman. So we won't hold that against you, Delores. But some new changes are happening in our local politics. We're going to have a new district. They redrew all the lines, right? And allowing us to have some fresh blood in our area. So we're going to have a new District 1 for our state Senate. And now we have District 31 is going to represent Front Royal. It's kind of strange. We have 3 delegates now. And we're going to end up with, basically in Front Royal, we'll have 1. And we'll have still 1 other in southern part of our county. So we'll basically go back to 2. And that leaves opportunity for you. So Delores is going to announce she's running for House of Delegates in the District 31, right?
I am.
So why in the world do you want to do that?
Well, first off, Mike, I was born and raised in District 31, right? So I was fortunate enough to live almost in the center of this district. I have roots in Warren County. My father had a business in Frederick County. Our address was White Post. Yeah. So I feel like I'm representative of all the areas of this district.
Right.
I'm running. I feel really honored to be able to potentially sit in the same assembly that Thomas Jefferson sat in.
It is kind of.
It is. It gives me
you goosebumps. It's because you're the North River now, which is basically still District 31. So
it is.
And Mr. Wiley's been our delegate for quite a few years. So
and he's done a fine job.
Fine job. And like I always say, we had 3 delegates, so in a way we don't have any delegates, because our areas don't really swing their election one way or the other. So, I always say that, but I'm sure they do a fine job. They do work hard. And of course, the other side of it, I said something to one of them. They said, yeah, but you got 3 delegates now to work for you instead of 1. So I said, well, I guess it's how you look at it. Half full or half empty, right?
Absolutely. But there is an advantage to having a Warren County born and raised person representing your interests, because as you know, our government was formed so that the people closest, or the representation closest to the people, was the best.
Right.
And so I think that as a result, having somebody from the 31st District who grew up here, who understands the people, who understands the concerns, is the ideal situation.
Well, remember back when we were younger, we had Andy Guest was our...
Yes, he was.
Right out there in the county. And
Rockland,
yeah. So,
yes.
And he did a lot for Warren County.
He did. We have a state park named
It's too bad it's not in Rockland area, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So this is a major decision for you to decide to do this. It's not an easy task to run for delegate. I mean, when you ran for supervisor, it's a pretty large area. I remember I ran for a county-wide area. I thought, my gosh, there's parts of this county I never even knew existed. And, being the small county, I can imagine, in a bigger county, but you're going to have to go into some new territories that you're not really, known in. I mean,
I look
the northern
forward
part of District 31 anyway. I
look forward to meeting and hearing the concerns of the 31st District that I'm not familiar with.
Right.
I'm excited about that opportunity.
It'll be interesting.
But I'm running, Mike, because, my faith informs everything I do.
Mm-hmm.
We prayed for months before I made this decision and before I made this announcement. And so, I feel that God has called me to this situation at this particular time in my life. I have a degree in government. I've served on the Board of Supervisors, so I understand the local concerns and the impact state decisions have on counties.
You really have seen that, haven't you?
Firsthand.
Yes. Yeah, we really don't, on an individual basis, we don't really, as the government goes up, we don't really feel that, touch like we do with the county. But the county sees it a lot because the state really puts a lot of, one arm behind your back type things.
Unfunded mandates. Yeah. There's the word. Yeah. There's the word.
You must do this, but we don't have any money to give you to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
That starts at the very top and kind of trickles down. They call it trickle down something. I don't know. But anyway, you're right. Your unfunded mandates. That's a good word.
Those are good words. They are. And they represent, sometimes those decisions that are made in at the state level have unintended consequences, and unfunded mandates are always the responsibility of the local legislatures to figure out how to pay, which ultimately means taxpayers pay for this.
And how to implement.
And how, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Right. It's a big change. We just don't, people that haven't been around it really don't see all the little ins and outs and the hours and hours and hours you spend. I remember one time Mark and I went over, we filmed all the budget processes. Oh. That went on for hours and hours and hours and hours.
Oh, we spent,
I would say the highlights.
weeks on the budget this year.
Yeah.
And we're still not finished.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
It is. It is a lot of work. But, I actually consider it an honor to serve the people here in that way. Government was intended to be a sacrifice. And unfortunately, we've gotten into this area where politicians think they should be enriched by their service. I don't accept that. I have a degree in government. I know how it's supposed to work. And our founders considered this a sacrifice. In fact, George Washington didn't want to be president. He had to be coerced. And so, that's the way it should be.
We always hear this talk about term limits. I said, well, the founding fathers set up term limits. They give you a 2-year term. Back then, it took a lot to go for 2 years. You didn't expect, and then 6-year term for our Senate. Those were our statesmen, and people that had a little older that could spend a little more time. And after you did your duty, you went back home.
Exactly.
Well, somewhere in time, they didn't go home.
Well, that's something that we need to address. I believe I actually impose my own term limits on myself here in Warren County. I only intended to serve one term and allow somebody else with more ideas to build on what I'd already started.
Right. So one thing that Republicans are supposed to be known for is smaller government. What's your take on that in the state level? How do you think that's going to?
Well,
how are you going to do that? Well, because just by nature, governments grow.
Well, I will vote for those things that put the responsibilities back in the hands of taxpayers. We currently have a $2 billion surplus in Virginia.
Right.
That $2 billion belongs to the people of Virginia, not to the representatives who are figuring out how to spend it.
Right. They say, well, we can come up with this. We can do that. Yes, you can do a lot of things.
Exactly.
Exactly. Fund some of these mandates.
Right. There you go. So we need to give it back to the people because, government closest to the people is the most effective.
Right.
And
we need to talk about how do you think they got that $2 billion? Because the economy grew like crazy under.
It did. Under President Trump.
Yes.
It grew tremendously.
Yeah. So what do you think is the future? You think Governor Youngkin is going to have the support from the new delegates and senators?
Well, he's going to have mine. So I can assure you that's another reason I want to go to Richmond is that I want to be able to make sure that his agenda is implemented in Richmond. So, he'll have a reliable vote. A conservative vote for me.
Well, we understand one thing about our state government is we have to balance our budget. And I wish the federal government would go back to that again.
Well, we could talk about that for hours.
I know. It's crazy. It's just like, it goes back to this checkbook. And it's, and the thing that we were talking to Delores about our clientele at the Department of Social Services and how many, 20% of our population goes through that door. And then we always hear numbers like, the 47% are on the government dole somehow, through some benefits and entitlements and things like that. And you do reach a point where you avalanche because you can't sustain.
Correct.
And so we need to think about, training and jobs and it's the economy, stupid. And what do you think? I mean,
I agree. I am so here locally, and I can speak to what we're doing locally. Our social services department is the leader, our director of social services, is trying to create programs that help people become independent.
Right.
And that's his goal. It isn't to keep generations on assistance, is to create independence through, he's got job training.
It's amazing all the job
resume writing. And of course, as a recruiter,
Sure.
that's near and dear to my heart, and skills. And we provided scholarships to, people who applied to go out to Lord Fairfax to gain skills, valuable skills that would employ them. So those are the kinds of things that happen locally.
Sure.
Local government serves the people closest to it best.
Right. Well, what about these jobs we're trying to, here lately, the county kind of known for warehousing. Warehousing doesn't really provide a lot of jobs or data centers. They provide almost no jobs. And the skilled jobs are somewhere else. They're not here, So you wonder, what kind of industry are we going to do? It's kind of like you have to build it will they come. If you don't have a workforce, industry's not going to come. If you don't have housing, the industry's not going to come. If they come and there's no workers, that's not good because then they leave, right? So it's like a three-legged stool. What do you think about
Well,
that?
economic development has been an area that I have actually worked in as a supervisor, and I enjoy it a lot. And so exploring those opportunities. One of the things, though, Mike, that I will tell you, I know distribution is central to this area because of I-66 and 81 and the inland port, which is a valuable asset to this community.
Right.
So, the economic development director currently, Joe Petty, is working to address this situation to make sure we attract higher paying jobs. Our focus has been on manufacturing as opposed to distribution.
Right.
And so, recently it was announced that we have a manufacturer coming in who's going to be producing, it's almost like a yogurt style ice cream product. And so that is coming into our community. So we are trying to do those things. And that has been an initiative of Warren County government.
Well, we don't want to poo-poo warehousing and distribution because manufacturers want that.
Absolutely.
And so it's kind of like one of those things all go together. And hey, I don't have a problem. It's a nice, clean industry. We don't have Avtex.
Well, and one of the areas that I've attempted to grow since I've been on the board is tourism.
Right.
We are a tourist community.
Got the greatest location.
Absolutely. Look at the natural resources that we have that attract those friends from Northern Virginia and, outside the 50-mile radius to come and stay in Warren County. You can hike, you can fish, you can boat, you can do all the wonderful things. I love the beauty of this place. It's what's kept me here for my whole life. I can go visit places, but coming back to Warren County is always.
Like when you come over that last hill.
It is.
And you come down, you're like, I'm so glad I'm home.
Exactly. 66, when you get to the Markham exit.
That last 13 miles doesn't seem like it takes very long, does it?
It doesn't. It's beautiful, and it's just opens up into all these beautiful hills, and I just So it's tourism is an area that we could focus, and we have focused. In fact, I was instrumental in helping get an agreement between the town and the county to focus on tourism together because we were independently doing tourism activities, which was a waste of taxpayer dollars because you have redundancies. So I worked with them to establish the tourism entity that will be known as, it will help to focus on Discover Front Royal.
Right.
So.
Well, I always tell people Front Royal is the heart and soul of Warren County. So,
Yes. We have so much, though, to offer in all areas of our county.
I was reading, someone was telling me about Frederick County's tourism, all the things to do in Frederick County. Someone said, remember that we had that fan, 50 things to do in our area. Well, 30 of them was in Warren County. So here they are advertising all the things to do in the valley, and a lot of them were in our county. So. They
are. We have a lot to do. Of course, Frederick County has a lot of beautiful attractions as well. And, I love Belle Grove and some of the other beautiful places that you can visit. And
But you can stand in Warren County and see that.
So. You can. It's lovely.
But it has a Middletown address. So,
it does.
So sometimes you see these addresses and, you're thinking, well, that's not part of our town or our county, but they are, It's like Lake Frederick. I mean, they got a Front Royal mailing address, but they're in Frederick County. But,
well, I have a Middletown mailing address, and I'm in Warren County.
That's right. I know you do. So, a lot of people are going to say, the delegates really don't meet that much, and what are you going to be able to do? What's kind of like, you have a plan, a thing of what's your? I know you got a list because she's a list maker.
I am.
I'll give you. Let me give some disclosure here. Delores has worked for me a long time ago.
A long time ago.
You sat right back on the other side of that wall.
I did. I helped in sales. I have very fond memories of traveling for National Cassette Services at the time.
I couldn't believe how long ago that was. So you've come a long way, Delores.
I have come a long way. I sure have, Yep.
I appreciate that. So anyway, let's go back. So what do you think, you kind of like, you prayed over it, you had some message, you've been telling yourself you're going to do it, but you have to have a plan. What do you think you can do? I mean,
well, I'm going to go and represent the Valley's values. First and foremost, we have core values here that we want represented in Richmond, and I am going to ensure that those votes represent those values.
We have these sections, and I guess the best way to describe it is around our universities, Charlottesville and Tidewater area and Richmond are very, very liberal. And it kind of, and there's enough votes there that swings the state into a very liberal bent when the rest of the other 90% of the state is very conservative. I won't want to say it's Democrat and Republican because both sides have both parts, but it seems like that the liberal sections are getting stronger and stronger in the valley and really throughout the state. So what do you think?
I actually think that this valley is very conservative, and it votes very conservative.
But you can see when we first came here, when we started getting involved in voting, it was quite heavily conservative. I mean,
it still is.
It is, but as you can see, as you look at the votes from the parties, they are moving closer to the center. And, that's where people come here. It's kind of like, we're going to move to the county, or to the country, excuse me. But I don't have a sidewalk. I don't have streetlights. I don't have garbage pickup. I need all these things, and then they look for the government to provide these services. Well, that's why you moved here.
Well, exactly. And I'm a person who believes that a lot of those services can be better offered by independent, private. Yeah, I'm in support of, if you can privatize it, privatize it.
Well, it's just like, if there's a need for it, someone will come along and fill that need.
Absolutely, and they'll be competitive, and other companies will compete for your business. And you know what? The end result is that you get the best service for the price.
Right.
I trust voters to decide for themselves what the best service is for the price.
Like our schools, that's another big issue with schools that. I've used this example before. One of these conferences that we used to go to at the cassette places. Remember, Lee Iacocca was the keynote speaker when he was the chairman of Chrysler, and they had an issue with hiring students from the Detroit school system. And they basically said, we need this workforce. They show up here. We're spending millions and millions of dollars to retrain them in the basic things that we need skill level. He said, you're putting out a product. Your students are your product. You need to guarantee your product. You expect us to guarantee our cars, then we want you to guarantee our products. And I said, so if we get a student comes to us and can't read and write and do arithmetic, we're going to send them back to you and you're going to retrain them on your dollar. I mean, what do you think of that? I mean, we need a workforce.
Our children are our greatest assets. And we need to invest in them in a way that produces the highest quality education.
We've thrown a lot of money at it.
And we have. And so here, I am a school choice candidate. Just want to let you know. I believe that the greatest gift we can give to parents and children is the choice to decide what the best education is for themselves. Because what will happen is then you'll have to compete.
Exactly.
Competition breeds excellence. I have been taught that my whole life.
It does.
And when we limit competition, what happens is that everything becomes, people become complacent. You know that. You've seen it in business. And so I believe with my whole heart that giving parents the opportunity to choose the education for their children will actually create a better product for all of us. That you called it a good product.
A good product. Because, again, we're not going to have economic development unless we have workforce.
Right.
And we just graduated 400 and some students the other day. That's 400 people that are going to go into our local workforce. Is there jobs for them?
Well, certainly there are more jobs. If you're looking on Indeed, if you're looking on any of the sites, there are more jobs and we have people to fill them right now.
Right. They may not be in our community.
Yeah.
And that's another thing is there's jobs out there and sometimes we have to be willing to go where the jobs are.
Or we need to create environments here that incentivize businesses.
Well, we get all the
jobs.
economic development things come from the state, and we see all these. The governor announces so and so's expanded, and I look around at some of the counties like Frederick County. Some of the jobs I said, why couldn't they come to Front Royal or Warren County? Those jobs don't. There's nothing special about Frederick County that would draw those businesses there. So somehow they were incentivized to go. I'm looking at it. I said our communication is better. Our transportation is better. We're closer to their market here. We have UPS terminal. Winchester doesn't have a UPS terminal. I'm just saying is that we don't realize we have this area location. So why do they go to Winchester and they don't come to Front Royal?
Well, that's a great question. The 31st District does include parts of Frederick County. So Stephen City and Middletown will be in the new 31st District or is in the new 31st District, not will be.
Right.
And so, I think that Warren County can do a better job in incentivizing businesses. And we just have to get to the point where local government is incentivizing.
Because your term's not going to be running out here in the next couple of weeks. So you're still going to be on the Board of Supervisors.
I have no plans to resign from that position.
So that's why we're talking about some of these things, because we kind of put the pressure on. We need to, because these take time.
They do.
They take a lot of time to do this.
They cultivate. It's like a garden.
Well,
you have to cultivate it.
You got to plant it. You got to water it, and it'll grow.
Right. You've got to cultivate.
So we just need to. But again, it takes. You go back to the constituents in our area, and our citizens have to be involved. You just can't sit back and let someone else do it. I think we need to have community involvement in a lot of these things. If nothing else, other than just watch and learn and read and try to figure out what's going on. I mean,
absolutely. If COVID taught me anything, is that isolation is not good for the human spirit.
No. We're social creatures.
We are. And communities need to come together now in this post-COVID environment to try reestablish normal, especially for the children. That is so important to me. And I will tell you, Mike, that essential businesses are all businesses. Yeah. I will stand for that. They're all essential.
Exactly.
Because someone's livelihood is certainly essential to them.
Exactly.
And closing a business is not an option for me.
No. We never closed here, so we just keep, struggled. There was a lot of struggle time. And just like right now, I was telling people, I said, we ordered 24,000 sheets of paper. We got 4,000 sheets of paper. And I said, well, where's the rest? That's just my month's supply. Well, maybe it'll be here at the first of the year. Well, what am I going to do for 7 months? Think about that. I mean, and it's just like, well, we ordered it in December and it's not here yet. So all this, how it trickles every which way, and it's not just gas prices. I mean, think about one little thing, gas prices. What's that affect? All our transportation. They can't get the trucks, and it's on the boat. It goes back to manufacturing. Well, we don't manufacture paper in this country. We do, but we can't buy it in this country. It goes somewhere else. I found some paper in Canada, but it had a little asterisk. This paper is not for sale in the United States. So I don't know what that means, but they had what I wanted, but I couldn't buy it. So we get our paper comes from Italy and South Korea. Now, how in the world could you make something in South Korea as heavy as paper is, ship it around halfway around the world, and sell it for something less than what they? How do you do that? I didn't study that economics. I couldn't figure out. All I can remember in school was you buy a bottle of wine for $2, you put it on, and you grow it, and you ship it all the way across the country, and you sell it for $2, and you make money. I said, I don't know what that part of economics. No, you sell it for $4.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know what they study. So I never did well in that phase of economics because it didn't make any sense to me. It wasn't logical.
Increased energy cost impact every aspect of our economy. It touches every aspect.
Can you imagine just 2 years ago, gas was less than $2 a gallon?
Yeah. And now I paid $5. I have
some
to use
places
premium.
in the high sevens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So think about you think about it. People say, well, in Europe the gas is been high for years. Yeah, but their tax system is different on their fuel. Here we have a very low tax on fuel. Those price increases didn't go to the government. In fact, if anything, our revenue has decreased on fuel because we use less. And it's a per gallon tax, not per dollar tax. So, in one sense, our coffers are going, this $2 billion might be decreasing if we're not, we can't sell gas, so we don't get our tax. So those little things like that. But in Europe, their tax, most of their money is taxed because their gas costs the same as it costs us, oil, refinery. So they tax it differently. So maybe we need to think about that.
Well, I am for giving back the money to the taxpayers. That is their money.
Yeah, we don't need to be buying more stuff, do we?
No, we don't. I want taxpayers to make decisions about how to spend their money, which will in turn fuel the economy. And so we don't need to, keep $2 billion of taxpayer money. No. Yeah. So, I will. I believe in cutting taxes.
Well, I can remember Bob Goodlatte saying we were talking about some Medicare fraud. Somebody ripped off the government for $10 million, and he said, "That's chump change. That costs us more money to investigate than it would be to go after it." And I think that's kind of like people feel a lot of things are that way. There's a lot of waste and fraud and abuse of it, but it's costs so much to go. The government kind of like. They got a threshold, if it's not a lot of money, they don't, I guess the numbers, $2 billion sounds like a lot to us, but some people that just take the zeros off. That's kind of how it works,
Well, see, and I believe that we should have high regard and respect for every dollar that we take into the government coffers because somebody worked hard to earn that money to be able to fund services and, help their neighbors and, provide those things that we're providing. And so we need to stop taking that hard work for granted.
Right. One thing I want to mention real quick, because some of my liberal reporters said, be sure you ask her these things because, she's a Republican and she's supposed to be for smaller government. And here's our local government buying more buildings and expanding and doing things. What say you on that?
Well, I voted. I think everybody knows that I was the dissenting vote on that purchase. I do not want to grow government footprint. I actually want to shrink government. I think it's important that we provide services that only the necessity that we provide, fire and rescue, police and safety, those types of things. But I voted against the acquisition of more property in Warren County because I want to tell you what happens. So when the government buys property, Mike, it is taken off the tax rolls.
Yes.
So it is a double whammy.
That's right.
They own the property, so developers aren't able to develop the property and use it for, whatever their purposes might be. And at the same time, then we're not earning tax dollars from that real estate either.
Right. We're not incentivizing someone to do something with it.
Exactly. So I voted against the purchase of that property for that reason, because I am a small government candidate. I am. And everybody, I hopefully I made that clear when I told people why I voted the way I did.
So we're going to have a whole nother year before these delegate elections.
Not until next November 23.
Yeah, so we're kind of early talking about this.
Yeah.
But I just want to get the opportunity to, meet the candidates because this is election cycle. The ballot will be pretty much firmed up in June. By the middle of June, the ballot for this November will be firmed up.
Right.
And so we'll be talking to more candidates. But, these kind of races are a year out. I mean, you start working on it now for a year from now. So it's not really that early. It seems early, but we want to talk to you about it. And I'm sure we will talk again.
Absolutely.
As it gets, probably after the November election when it gets, when we'll see who else comes out of the woodwork. Because there's going to be few people. I've already noticed in our Senate race, which is not till next year, we've already got half a dozen people have already
declared,
I'm running. So, and several local Warren County people are
and that's exciting.
It is exciting. And some people, come in, go out, but we don't encourage people to run. I mean, it's a life-changing experience to do that.
I consider it an honor to represent the people of this community. If people want more information on my positions, they can go to www.delores4delegate.com.
Right. I seen that. I was on your website.
Were you actually?
It's pretty good.
Well, let me tell you. So I am very proud of that website, and I want to share that my to-be daughter-in-law, actually designed my logos, my graphics, and my son, who is a developer, developed my website. So it's a family effort.
She's not sharing. She didn't farm that out to local businesses,
Well, I have built in.
She kept it in-house.
I kept it in-house.
Those are the words we use.
Literally.
But that's good. I mean, you didn't go to South Dakota somewhere to get it done,
No.
and that's great. So we appreciate, Delores, all the things you and your best friend Cheryl, she does. I've seen her out this weekend. I mean, things that people should be doing, and especially our leaders should be doing, going to these events, showing up at Memorial Day ceremonies, being out in the public, meeting the public, and being aware, because a lot of people want to vent. And sometimes the hardest job that I think an elected official has is just listening. What they say, God give you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Of course, Delores is known for.
I enjoy chatting. That's no secret.
But you can carry on a conversation with Delores. You meet her; she's out and about. Don't feel bad. Stop her. She won't be mad at you. I think she'll encourage a conversation. If she can't do it right then, I know you'll set it up, because she's done it to me several times.
Yeah.
And but she always shows up and she always listens. And I think that's really one of the things we need to do. Of course, we'll be talking to some of your opponents coming up. I'm sure there will be some.
Yeah.
And we hope the more the merrier, because it does bring out the competition, and it brings out ideas that, I didn't think about that, And
iron sharpens iron.
That's what it does. It does.
Yeah.
And again, I really appreciate it. And I know hopefully, we'll have some new candidates for the North River District next year. They'll start. And that's something to think. By you announcing earlier, it does let other people realize that, hey, maybe I think about running for North River. And so that's
absolutely
that's where I live, but I'm not going to run.
North River District needs a new supervisor next November.
Yeah.
So I look forward to somebody. If anybody's interested, they can come talk to me.
I've already heard a couple of people asking about it.
That's exciting.
That is good. That's what we want. So if you have any interest at all in running for local government, North River will have an open seat. In our 23 election. So
we sure will.
Well, Delores, thanks for taking the time to come speak to us. I know you're a busy woman.
Thank you.
And we'll get together here in a few months, and we'll see how things are going, and maybe give us some insight into the local election and some other things. We'll find something more to be a little more, hold the thumb on you here as we get closer. And
I look forward to it.
I know you will.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks again, Delores.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Mike.
it.